Welcome back to the Nerdrotic channel. My name is Gary Biegler. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com. And down in San Diego is my good friend and co-host, Dennis Bathalkis. What's up, Dennis?
I'm beardless. Yes, I am.
Yes.
You know why I'm beardless? Because we have a new episode of Preacher.
That's why. It's good to be, have a clean face. There's nothing like a shone scrotum. It's quite breathtaking, really. Hello, everybody. We are covering Preacher, Season 3, Episode 6. And I'm going to try out some French. Oh, God. What was it? It's Les Enfants des Sang. Les Enfants des Sang, which is the children of blood.
Children of blood, yes.
Yes. I do not speak French, so sorry. And we're here covering another episode, another very good episode, I would say.
Yeah, it was. It was a pretty good episode. It's better than season 2, that's for sure.
It is a lot better than season 2. It's even though it's as stationary, there's more going on. We got most of our characters in this tonight's episode. We got the return of Arseface himself. That was good, as brief as it was. And yeah, it's really interesting how they're like interconnecting some of the stories from the comics, and I'm quite liking it, actually, quite a bit. I'm still worried that we might lose this show. There has been no word of this, by the way. This is just purely speculation on our part, based on what's been going on with other TV shows we like and ratings and all the weird transition that's going on in television right now. It's a very weird time. It's a changing of the guard, as we will say, as the streaming services start to take over and the cable networks scramble to try to keep up with Netflix and Amazon, which is a podcast for another day, because there's a lot of stuff was talked about in some conference between with Amazon and Netflix today, and a lot of news was out there. And yeah, it's but I'm enjoying it while it lasts. A great comic, an equally great show. Great show.
Yeah. And I want to say thank you to Movie Fanobi for that $1.99 at the beginning there before we started off. And before we were even in here, we saw that. So thank you very much. And also, just to remind everybody, spoilers are ahead from here on out. So if you haven't watched the episode, go and watch it. Or if you just like listening to us spoil it for you, stay and watch it for us. And otherwise you can go and watch it, come back, and we'll still be here as video for you.
There you go. Spoiler alert.
And thank you again, Viking Bitch.
Let's do this.
All right. So we open up with Eugene crying, and he sees the crater of the town he lived in. He's just standing there in the crater that used to be that town. And he's talking about what does it all mean? He went to hell and back, and what's this all mean? And he's being driven by a Texas official car going to an orphanage. He ends up in an orphanage, and he's sitting across from some kid, and he's talking about, I know why, because God wants me to live. He's got a plan for me, and there's a plan for me. And the kid that he's sitting across from says, you know what happened to me? He goes, my mom shot my dad, because after he stabbed her, and she died. So I went to go live with my grandma, or with my aunt. My aunt liked to cook meth. Her still blew up. She died. So I went to go live with my grandma. My grandma, she was really nice. She liked, she liked church too, just like you. She preached at me, but never tried to hit me. And then what happened? She ate a peach, choked on the pit. She puffed up all purple and bloated, and she died too. It doesn't mean shit. And we find out he gets adopted automatically, and it turns out to be the saint of all killers that's adopted Eugene.
It's his new foster dad. We got to do the paperwork, and then he throws the lady through the wall. That's hilarious. And I love the sign that said some Texas orphanage, inventory low, make an offer.
Oh God, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I do love the kid. He goes, what a lucky son of a bitch.
I know. I know, right? Oh man, I'm glad I was adopted early. For sure.
So that's how it starts off, and he puts him in chains, The animal killer puts Eugene in chains, and he says that he's going to take him back to hell. And he's like, "Why? That's not fair." He goes, "I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. And fair's got nothing to do with it." And that's what he says as he's holding Eugene up. And Eugene's like, he goes, "No, do you think fair has anything to do with it?" And he goes, "No." And he says, "Can you put me down? You got some of my chest hairs that you're holding."
Yep. And the Santa Killers looked sympathetic there
Kind of
for a
looked,
second.
and also no, he looked kind of more impressed that Eugene wasn't afraid of him. Really,
I saw sympathy. I don't know. Maybe I saw that wrong, but maybe he was just looking at his face, going, "God damn." Maybe even, I mean, our face has got it so bad that like even the Santa Killers feel sorry for you, at least in the show.
yeah.
Poor
And so
Eugene.
they're walking on a road, and he goes, "Well, we're going to walk there." And he goes, "No, I got another stop to make first." And he goes, "Well, another stop on the way to hell." And it's like, "Yeah, this is the way to hell."
Yeah,
And
make as many stops as you like.
yeah,
Let's see where the
exactly.
story takes us.
God. So we end up seeing Icarius is the name of this new vampire that introduced himself to Cassidy in the basement of Kevin's Mima. Kevin is a member of the Children of Blood, or Les Enfants du Sang, as Gary said, and I just murdered that too in French. I did it as fast as I could so I can murder it. And
Well, that's part of French, right? I mean, you're just like, you don't, well, at least that's what it does. When they pronounced it in the show, it didn't sound anything like that. It almost sounded like two words. So again, I don't know French, so I barely, English is my second language. I
yes,
usually speak grunt and mumble. So, yeah.
and we see that he's trying to prove that he's really a vampire, and Cass isn't taking it. He's like, "You know what?" He goes, "Here, I'll show you. I'll prove it to you." And he takes an owl and swallows the whole thing whole while it's still alive and squawking. Yeah.
And the whole scene here is hilarious. They're fully making fun of Anne Rice, and I think
Oh
somebody's
yeah.
playing a harpsichord or something like that.
The
And then
piano.
every
Yeah.
time he says, "We are creatures of the night," like the owl hoots. I didn't
Yeah.
expect him to eat the owl though, whole.
That
So
whole thing, the Creatures of the Night, I think was taken from Mel Brooks, the Young Frankenstein. Every time they said Frau Blücher,
yeah,
and get the horse.
when he's yeah.
That always made me laugh. So we're gonna go over to Tulip and find out what happened with the fight there, between her, Jesse, TC, and Jody. And we find out that Tulip lost. Tulip and Jesse both lost. She winds up in the machine. She's drugged by TC, so she won't feel anything. And Jesse comes in and he proposes a plan to rob Sabina's bank. And they're like, "We looked at that bank before. There's no way we can get in there."
Oh, you
As
didn't have
TC would
to.
say. Yeah, but you didn't have Tulip. So they take Tulip out of the machine. They said Grandma's, doing pretty bad. She needs her medicine now, next couple hours. So Grandma and Tulip have to die, is what Jesse says, in order to make this plan work. So they end up digging two graves for Grandma and Tulip outside and have a ceremony and all this stuff. And we see Sabina's men have seen this. Of course, they spy on this and think that they're both dead. In the meanwhile, Tulip and Jesse are getting everyone ready for the heist. And Tulip has a blonde wig. She goes, "You remember this from one of our heists?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah."
A little shout out to the Tulip in the comics, a little bit there, and then we get our Ocean's 11 music going, which is pretty
Yes.
funny.
Yeah. And we have, excuse me, Tulip walking into the bank with her blonde wig on, and she opens a safe deposit box, and we find out that the safe deposit box only opens with people's saliva. It's a new Japanese feature. Instead of the hand scanner, it's your saliva. So you actually have to lick, which I think would be really unhygienic if you think about it. It depends on if they clean those things in between.
Well, and shows you what I'm prepared for in this show. I was like, oh well, they're obviously cutting that dude's tongue off. But since they just need the saliva, there's they don't need the
Yeah.
tongue.
Yeah, and she plants a button underneath the desk. which I don't know how she did that. It was kind of a weird thing. It looked like they actually drilled it in or something. It was very odd looking, but
That's
anyway.
right, Viking bitch. Just lick it.
I'm not going to go anywhere with that. So then we go over to, and she leaves the bank, of course, and they're getting ready for the heist. Hoover and Hair Star are in the elevator, and Hair Star wants to know the whereabouts of Cassidy because he says, "How in the hell can we lose a vampire in New Orleans who'd been kidnapped by a bunch of people in black cloaks?" And Hoover says, "Well, it is New Orleans after all." And then Hoover's like, "Is the Allfather, is he really that scary?" And he's like, "He makes me look like
A
a
conscientious
conscientious
objector."
And he says, he tells the story of the Allfather crushing a guy's head with his butt because the guy had dared touch one of his hot pockets.
Don't touch his hot pocket. Yeah.
And it's a pretty, I mean, they actually do the flashback and everything. You see the guy's head explode, and yeah, pretty nasty.
Yeah. It's very, yeah, Red Viper from Game of Thrones. Yeah.
And I love, they go back to the elevator and Hairstar's like, "What's taking so long?" And Hoover looks over and goes, "Oh, I forgot to press the button." Man, I love, Malcolm is the guy who plays Hoover, who is also in Timeless, and he's awesome. Cassidy ends up watching the makings of a blood ceremony. They're getting ready to plan a blood ceremony, and Icarius actually picks somebody and says, "Are you ready to become children of the night?" And he's like, yes, I am. It's just a really geeky guy who actually has a lisp, more so even with the pronounced, with the fake teeth in.
Right.
Oh man, they did a really, they're trying to make it pretty geeky. And Icarius is trying to tell him, he goes, "You don't know what it means to be a vampire." He goes, "You haven't used any of these powers." And he goes, "I'll show you tonight. If you stick around for this thing, I'll show you." And Cassie's like, "Okay, I guess so." He's washing his clothes at this point. He's like, "Thanks for the fluff and fold."
Yep. And he's got like this robe on. And yeah, Cassidy has been like just mopey. Besides the loss of Tulip, he also knows, we start seeing that like he doesn't, every time he gets close to somebody, he ends up getting hurt. He really hates being a vampire in every way. And that's when the other vampire goes like, "Well, are you sure you're doing it right? Let me show you a few things." So, but every time Cassidy's like, "This is wrong and it sucks," the vampire shoots his theory down, which is funny. He's like, no, actually, it's good. There's a few points coming up, but
yeah. And so Tulip and the gang end up, that button that was underneath the desk was actually to get the police to show up so they can see the response time. So they hit the button remotely, of course, to activate the alarm to get the police to arrive. And they're like, "Damn, that's actually pretty, that's a pretty good response time." And TC says, we can buy you a couple more minutes if that'll work. And it's like, "Yeah, that'll work." And him and Jody are in the back seat of the car, and they're saying that they can buy him a couple more minutes, which is fairly ominous when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is, yeah, we kind of knew. Were you really surprised when you found out?
Not really. No. Yeah. So Featherstone ends up appearing. Hair starts walking down the hallway and compliments him on his hat again, very cabaret-ish. And as Hoover says, "Yeah, the Liza Minnelli role." And she's briefing him on Humperdew and that they're cleaning him up because Humperdew, as you could see a little bit of it, he had smeared feces on the wall and written his name in feces on the wall.
Yeah.
And I love Hairstar. As soon as Featherstone shows up, he goes, "There goes my morning erection."
Yeah. And we finally find out why he's wearing the hat. It's a work-related injury.
Mm-hmm.
A work-related injury that makes his head look like a penis.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He goes into his office, shuts the door, and takes off his hat. And we see the line down the center of his head. And the Allfather in his seat.
Allfather there. So
yeah. And things don't look good for him at this point. Then we bounce back over to Jesse, and Jesse going into one of Sabina's bars, and he has beat the shit out of everybody in the bar. They're out cold. And she comes in and goes, "Well," She goes, if you wanted to get my attention, you got it. And he says, who says I was trying to get your attention? She goes, you came into my bar and, knocked out all my guys. And, they start talking about both Tulip and her brother Kenny and how she's going to spit in his face. She would spit in his face, and she doesn't. She goes, no, I'll just spit on your grave instead. And she goes to turn away, and he says, well, would it be bad if I said I wanted to kiss you on the day that I buried my girlfriend? He goes, would that make me
that made me a bad person? She's all, yes, it would. And then Jesse gets into the car with Tulip, and he made out with her. And Tulip's all, that's not what we talked about.
Yeah, she's supposed to spit in your face.
In your face. He's all, I improvised.
She goes, well, how come you brought the tongue scraper along if you were going to improvise?
Exactly. Yeah. It's good. Good point. Good point. And you know what? He is doing all this to save Tulip's soul, but Tulip did kind of die because of him too. So it's all reciprocal.
Yeah. So I love we get TC and Jody in the car, and Jody's like, yeah, you okay with this? He goes, I usually do this a little bit on my own to kind of get in the mood, because I don't like people looking. And we see him get out of the car as Jody speeds away, and he is naked in front of a petting zoo.
And there's certain things out there that you just see coming a mile away. Yeah. They're still funny. This is one of them. So
yeah. And Jody says he's gonna go and he's gonna basically dedicate his for grandma. And we see him in front of the motel, Madam Boyd's motel, with all her boys, and he's got a gun in his hand. And the cops, in the meantime, Jesse and Tulip have broken into the bank at this point. The cops are on their way, and they get a call. They go, there's a man outside the petting zoo. And they're like, yeah, we're on the way to the bank. The bank's getting broken into. And they say, it's TC.
Bill, it's TC.
Yeah. they just hit the brakes and turn around.
And there's that slow motion picture of TC running, and they've blocked, blocked out his balls, pixelated his balls,
his penis and balls.
And the goat, I swear to God, the goat looked like it was smiling, but that was just me. The things they've done to goats this season, they've fired one out of a cannon, right?
Yeah.
And then they violated one. This is goat abuse, people. It's clearly not being sensitive to goats. I'm clearly offended by this. All the goats. Somebody call PETA, please.
Yeah. And we see that Jody has pretty much killed everybody at the motel. Pretty much everyone's dead.
I think one guy was hanging on, but he just died.
Yeah, he was dying as Jody was driving away.
So Jody had 6 shots in that gun, maybe?
He probably had a lot of stuff to reload with, so
I'm he probably had time to load. Jody's badass.
Yeah. And so when we go back to Hair Star and meeting with Allfather and trying to do a fake smile, he's doing the really fake smile. And the Allfather looks at his head and says, your head looks like a penis.
Yep.
And what happened?
Work-related injury.
Work-related injury, exactly. And so they start talking about what's going to happen with the Messiah there, and discussion about the Crusader, who the reason, he goes, do you know what the symbol was for the Crusades? And he says, a sword, a pickaxe. And he goes, it was a spur.
It was spur because of a horse.
Because of the horse.
The horse's most valuable thing, and if it died under him, the only honorable way was to eat the horse. So they brought in a cooked horse, and they have to eat this while they discuss. He basically questions Hair Star's loyalty a little bit. And he's all, do you have faith? I'm paraphrasing here. And he's all, yes. And he's all, okay, fine. Now let's talk about Jesse Custer, and then we got to eat while they eat. And then they show him cutting off a slice right off the ass a little bit. And it's bloody and gratuitous and very preacher. And is this bad? I guess it's bad. I don't care if it's bad. At the point where I'm like, this is feeling like season 1 a little bit. I mean, it's not as good as season 1, but it's found its way again. Like, this show has found its way. I'm thoroughly enjoying the show again. So
Yeah, it needs to be a little bit more like season one, or a little more. How can I say this? Just a little more out there, I think. It's writing. It's doing a good job so far, but it needs to go a little further, a little
It
bit
does.
further.
The only
Yeah,
thing I'm going to say is, and I know it's part of the story, folks, but Mopey Cassidy's got to go. Okay,
yeah,
he's been pretty mopey since last year. Okay, and yeah, I know he turned his son, and then his son died. Move on. I'm sorry to say, but move on. It
yeah,
sounds terrible, but um, that being said, though, the stuff they're doing, it was like I really felt sorry for Cassidy this episode. I did because
yeah.
yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, so Icarius flies with Cassidy, shows them that you can fly, and they go to a bar, and Cassidy's like, let's go in for a drink, and
You know what would have been
Cassidy's,
funny if Cassidy would have done "Can you read my mind" while they're flying.
yeah, that would have been funny.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, so they go into a bar, and of course, Icarius is only drinking ginger ale. He's not drinking anything hard, and he goes, "Do you want another one?" He goes, "No, I'm okay." He goes, "You sure? You got to pace yourself a little bit." Is what Cass is saying. He goes, "Come on, we'll pick up a girl and all this kind of stuff." And he tries to show him what he's missing. And Cass goes over to pick up this girl, and of course gets shut down. And he goes, "Oh, she's with her father." And Vicarius just kind of looks at him. Excuse me, Icarius says, looks at him kind of like, "Yeah, you don't know what you're doing." And he says, "Pretty young woman, come to me," with his mind. And
He
you
goes,
see her,
"Attractive woman, come to me."
yeah.
And she comes.
And
They make out. Dad comes over, like, "What the fuck?" And they make out.
yeah,
And then again, Cassidy keeps trying to shoot him down on all of his things. He's all, "Oh, okay, you win. You got it.
yeah,
All right." But I'm still not happy with this.
yeah. And then Icarius disappears.
Yes.
And the spell is broken, and the girl looks at Cassidy and goes, "You perv," and walks away. And he's like, "What the hell? The disappearing? That okay? That's kind of cool." And he looks down and he hears Icarius's voice from a cat, and he goes, "No one can disappear."
That nobody can disappear, but we can turn into cats.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And so we see Jesse opening up the case to the box that they had gotten from the bank with all these little souls in there, and they're feeding it to Grandma.
and you recognize that case, right?
I do recognize that case. Yes, that's the cases we have seen from various different people throughout the different episodes. Actually, last season.
Yep.
And Grandma Langell is getting her souls on, if you will.
And it's not enough
No, it's not really enough.
because she's only getting, like, those are only pieces of people's souls, right? So,
Yeah, small amount.
yeah.
And then we go back to Cassidy, and of course, Downer Cassidy. He's in a crack house in a basement, and Tulip calls and fills him out on everything that's been going on. And she's like, "Well, what's going on with you?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing much." He goes, "Yeah, New Orleans is New Orleans." And she goes, "You're in a crack house, aren't you?" And he goes, "Well, it's not really a house."
Yeah.
And she says, that once they get out of this mess, that they're going to go and find him, and they're going to go back out on the road again and go and find God and all this stuff. And Cass tells her, he goes, "I've been through thousands of people like you before." He goes, I'm not going to wait for you.
No, he's all,
Being
"I move
Cass.
on. There's been thousands of you and Jesse, and I move on."
Yeah, exactly. I'm moving on. And just as they finish their phone conversation, Tulip gets chloroformed.
Yes. And it looks like Grandma's going to renege anyway.
Yeah. So Grandma is back, kind of. And we see someone getting a needle put in their arm and getting hooked up in the machine. And she's talking to Jesse, saying that, he's been insolent. He and Tulip have been insolent since the day they got there, and that he needs to pay off his debt. And he needs to stay there and pay off his debt. And we see that the person in the machine who is getting their soul sucked out is not Tulip, it's Sabina.
Yeah. That still sucked. Even seeing that, it still sucked. And Tulip had to witness that. And as this was going on, I was like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be entertained by this whole grandma thing. But then they said the magic words. They said Grail. We need to call the Grail.
Yeah.
And
Well, Jesse comes in and shoots Sabina, kills her, says that's no way for her to live.
And that's
And
it is all. This is not how we're gonna do this. We're gonna call the Grail.
yeah,
And right at that moment, like Herr Starr has come to his moment to where he needs Jesse too,
yeah,
because he has a little
yeah,
conversation with the Allfather that's pretty fucking scary.
yeah. The Allfather basically says the only way they're going to accept the Messiah is if the world is cleansed by fire, nuclear fire.
Nuclear. I thought you were going to make a run on the banks.
Thanks. He goes, no, nope,
Nope.
the world needs to be cleansed by fire. And he's like, oh shit. Yeah, at the very end, we see Cass going back to the Children of Blood. He goes back into the house, Mima's house, Kevin's Mima.
Yep.
And
She opens the door. She's all, "You look terrible." Yeah. Well, I've been smoking crack all day. She's all,
she goes,
"That's not good for you.
that's not good for you at all.
I'm making blondies."
I'm making blondies. Look who's back home. And that's where we end it.
And the door shuts in ominously. Ominously. So yeah, this is a very, very good episode. Hello, random game. I can talk. Game
Random
user
game
42.
user.
Got
Yes.
it. Man, what the fuck's going on tonight? Welcome everybody in the chat. We're just about to get to you. But yeah, I'm digging the season so far so much. And yeah, I'm wondering what's up with the Children of Blood. There's definitely something up there.
Yeah, there's something weird going on.
Well, there's also like on the human level, they both were lonely. They're both lonely. Like even
Yes.
Cassidy was asking him, like, what do you want? You've got a good thing going here, dude. What do you need from me? He's like, a friend. He's all, I've got enough friends.
And that was the other thing too, is we found out that Icarius was actually turning these humans so that he can gain his powers that way.
Yep.
And Cassidy was kind of pissed off about it. He's like, I'm going to tear your fucking head off, is what he says, and tries to fight him. And of course, Icarius is at super speed at this point, and he's just watching him, ducking him as he's punching him and all this kind of stuff. And he says, the only people I turn are good. And he goes, I make sure of it. He goes, and because he tells Cassidy, he goes, was the person that you turned good? He goes, yeah, he was my son. He goes, well, he was kind of a dick.
He was kind of a dick. Yeah. And yeah, that's the point. All his theories keep getting knocked down. There's no excuse. But Cassidy's just simply unhappy being a vampire, period. He was unhappy before, and he's, that's why he's been doing drugs this whole time.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get charming Cassidy back, but it's a good part of the story. We also have the Santa Killers out there, and he is now the foster parent to Eugene Arseface, which is fucking genius in every way. And they're looking for Hitler. So the side story, while still I am way more interested in than the the Angelville stuff. The Angelville stuff's really good, and it's getting better. But goddamn, the side stories in the show are some of the best.
Yeah, man. I mean, that whole thing with him going in and literally going through, and I mean, the Sandoval Killers going through the whole process of the adoption stuff, which I'm taking it from the way that Texas Adoption Agency wasn't all that stringent anyway to begin with. But still, having him have enough, I guess, patience,
wherewithal and patience, yeah,
to go through that. Yeah, so that kind of impressed me. Just a bit.
What's going on, Johnny Pappas and Viking Bitch and Slurmy Scott and the aforementioned random game user 42, Movie Fanobi, Bad Bunny, and Penn Farm Girl. What's up, Penn? She's not in here, but Rough Girl is back too. We saw Rough Girl earlier in my video earlier today. Let's get to the chat a little bit, Dennis.
I am. I'm up there.
Also, by the way, I am an official Doomcock Legionnaire. Okay, I am the Minister of Harsh Justice. My favorite thing about this whole thing is you get a little 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 10 of Doomcock. I love this. Is called committing to the bit, people. Okay, not saying it's a bit because he's real, but goddamn, that's funny shit. So you're all freaking subscribed to Doomcock. I don't need to tell you that.
Penn Farm Girl says, I couldn't believe they went there, but it is Preacher. She's talking about TC running down the street with the goat.
That was so I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, me too.
To the point where my family's like, what is going on? So I'm just watching Preacher. It's funny.
Stormy Scott says, "Okay, I confess, I gave up on Preacher middle of last season." Hi, Philip. Yes, you're not in bad company of doing that, because we thought about it too, because it was really it got stuck in New Orleans. It really did. It got stuck on the farm, and it was pretty bad. Season 2 is very, very bad.
And just real quick, let me show you. There was a little bit of a ratings boost the last couple episodes here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to read somebody else there. So Philip A. Demick says, "I'm still getting used to cutting the cord. Preacher isn't available to me yet. I used to watch it live." Oh, I think actually we got a little frozen Gary there. Either that or it's frozen me. So I don't know which one's which. Ooh. Let me see what's happening.
I'm back.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, I've totally farted out there. I don't know what the hell's going on. Okay, where was I? I was going to show you the ratings boost.
Yes.
I
was wondering what happened there to you. And
it's just like weird. Going. It just like died. Now it's back. Okay, so ratings boost, which is unusual. Okay, this is especially mid-season and there's no break or anything. I have no explanation for this because I've been learning a lot about ratings over the last year since we've been covering TV. It's kind of turned into our thing. No, it's not how it planned, but that's not how it goes with these YouTube channels. So I decided to educate myself as much as I could on ratings. And this is something I have not seen without a break or mid-season break. And it's a little bump. It's not, but it's significant. It's pretty close to the ratings of their premiere episode. And I can say the first 2 episodes are kind of the weakest of the season. It's actually gotten better as it gone on. So this is very encouraging. Okay. So that's 800,000 viewers, total viewers last, and I was kind of down on these ratings, but then I saw them compared to Cloak and Daggers, which are much lower, and it got a season 2 without a second thought. So
yeah, different network and different owners. So yeah. Philip A. Demick says, "I'm still getting used to cutting the cord. Preacher isn't available to me yet. I used to watch it live." Most
people watch Preacher, I think, streaming afterwards. I don't think there's many people watching. I mean, that's a high number for it also, you could just tell by other reviews and our reviews that we get a lot of clicks later in the week on this, and we don't get a lot on Sunday night. So
Slurmy Scott says, "We totally cut the cord, left DirecTV, and have only Amazon and Netflix. I did pay extra for Expanse on Amazon."
That's the future, folks. That's the future. We're still like some of the best TV still on some of the cable channels, but a couple more years and Netflix and Amazon will rule. And I don't know about Hulu. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, Hulu's going to change over to Disney is what I'm thinking.
They're not going to be very good.
No, it's not. But hey, depends on if they follow like DC Entertainment's route and just go all Marvel on it, or Marvel and Star Wars or whatever. I think they'd be good.
I'm gonna frame my Doomcock. I just got to find room for it somewhere. That'll be interesting.
Bad Bunny says, "For anyone interested, Global News on YouTube will do an expose on women of color next week."
Okay.
All right. Just going back down here a little bit. Sorry about for the Vampire Slayer. We're going a little bit more. And of course, Mufinobi for that $1.99. Like I said earlier on, he said neurotic ladies are the best. Just saying.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
And I'm still looking for more as I'm scrolling through here. There we go. Mufinobi at Nerdrotic. So I see Dennis shops at Gary's Secret Nerdrotic t-shirt shop. I want that sexy merchandise. This sexy merchandise here is not from Gary's Secret Supply Store. This is actually a Venture Brothers shirt. So, and they don't make this one anymore. They only do one-offs once a week when the season is in gear, which we'll be covering next week. How do you like that little promo there?
What does it say? I was just reading. The goat was happy, but I lost that chat now. Thank you,
Oh.
Mary. Sorry I missed the chat. Lost track of time. Oh, shame on you, Mary. You cannot miss us. No, just kidding. Thanks for the super chat.
Viking Bitch says that nice little Superman moment for Cassidy was very romantic.
I thought it was, but it would have been funny to. Can you read my mind? Can you hear what I'm thinking?
Yeah, I know. that would have actually just put it right over the edge. Mako,
I was
Mako
not chasing a goat movie, Finobi. It was consensual.
The goat lies. Mako was laughing, said smeared feces on the wall. That got me laughing so hard. Yeah, when he's walking down the hallway, you see Humperdoo's name smeared in feces on the wall. That made me laugh too. So
Humpadoo.
Humpadoo.
Remember how much shit we got for saying that the first time?
I know.
The only comments we got were how like horrible we were for going humpadoo.
It's like that's the way he says it, man.
Yeah.
I did like what Hairstar said to the Allfather. He goes, "Yes, I do want to see the Messiah, our tap dancing savior."
Mako, this show does follow the comics in somewhat. I mean, most of the stories are influenced by comic stories.
Movie Finobi says the goat dropped her cigarette when they were running. Hey, Movie Finobi, how'd you know it was a she?
Yeah, don't assume the goat's gender, man. Are you PC? No, sorry.
Oh my god. And Penn Farm, nope, sorry. They're talking about us being perverts in the chat. You know that the chat is a bunch of perverts. It's not a house, Dennis, is what Movie Finobi says. Yes, I know it's not a house. It's not really a house per se. And Mako says, we all know you're entertained a lot by the grandma thing, Gary. Maybe even too much.
I will not confirm nor deny. Especially that grandma TC scene. Yeah, that was entertaining. Last week.
Yeah, that was.
No, what does this say about Dennis and I? Like, two of our favorite shows are really wrong. Like, if y'all have seen Happy, I don't know how many of you out there have seen Happy, which is seriously one of my favorite shows. That show is fucking wrong, and yeah,
very, very wrong, but so right at the same time. Game user 42 says, yeah, seeing horse dick out of the corner of my eye. What the fuck?
Well, I guess it's hard to bet. I mean, horse dick's pretty, it's not small.
No, it's not.
No. Oh my God. Yeah. That just popped into my head. The horse mating.
I know where you're
the
going.
The horse mating scene from Silicon Valley, dude, which is the single. I've never laughed that hard in my life. I was crying.
Oh, I thought you were going to a Tijuana thing.
No.
I was like, okay,
that's not funny. I'll tell you that right now. It is not.
That's what I was saying.
Funny. Yeah. You need a T-shirt at Brewer. You're gonna get a T-shirt at Brewer because you're a patron.
And you get a T-shirt.
You get a T-shirt. I'll be hitting you guys up for sizes tomorrow.
So did you get Mary Ashmead's $2?
I did.
Okay, you did. Cool. All right.
I did. For the tomorrow nooner. Yeah, I'm working on the channel all day tomorrow. We're going to be doing channel stuff.
Bad Bunny says Dennis with a goatee, Dennis without a goatee. Yeah, it's very humid down here. I couldn't stand it any longer.
I like the goatee.
I liked it too, but I had to take it off. I was literally like doing this kind of thing, and I
literally can't even.
I can't even, like, oh my god. Like, oh my god, I can't even. Sorry.
I will measure your sizes all day tomorrow.
I threw myself off on that one. That's a good one. And Farm Girl says, random, they ate the horse. The goat was the only molested thing.
I will be measuring all day with my T-square. That's the only measuring thing. That really would have been more funny with a tape measure, but I don't have one.
Oh my god.
Um,
Movie for Nobody says the goat was happy. Is it still molestation?
Well, it depends on how old the goat is, and was there, did the
Is
goat
there an
say
age of
yes?
consent in that state that the goat has? Is there an age of consent for goats to give in that state? That's the whole thing. That's where it comes down to.
Well, I could make some Louisiana jokes right now, but I mean, can you do that anymore? You probably can't. I'd probably get in trouble. The goat was smiling, Bad Bunny. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I think if you did it, then we'd have some, hillbilly jihad or something like that, put up against us. But yeah, that's all.
What's worse, being with TC or being shot out of a cannon?
I
guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Easily shot out of a cannon. I mean, being
with
TC.
And according to Tulip, it is crooked. So.
Do Arkansas jokes then? Do California jokes.
Yeah, it's easy enough.
Well, California is a joke. Costly one.
Oh my god, no!
Yeah. All right, we can wrap this up. But
yeah, it's kind of the chat's devolving as it normally does.
I might keep an eye on Twitter. I might do a later on tonight. I'm going to watch a little bit of the Bruce Willis roast, and then I might do a super secret live stream later tonight. But that's going to be for the Night Owls, man. It's going to be late.
I'm going to be in bed. So
are you going to watch that tomorrow?
The
Bruce Willis roast.
Oh, no,
it's pretty good.
Really?
I don't know. The last one I actually watched was the Shatner one, which I guess is the best one to watch.
The Shatner one is pretty funny.
That was brilliant. That was on my birthday. Oh God, I think it was my 40th birthday. God, has it been that long? Jesus. Yeah. So everybody in the chat: Mako, Jody, Ed Brewer, Penn Farm Girl, Mary Ashmead, Movie Fanobi, Bad Bunny, Mako, and Viking Bitch, and Random Game User 42. Am I missing anybody? I don't think so.
There's
suspects.
Yeah, there's quite a few people here. There's some people that are up above too.
That's as far as I go. If I missed anybody, thank you so much. Thank you all for thank you to our wonderful patrons. Yeah, the video's coming someday, I swear to God. Thank you for the super chats, which are Movie Fanobi $1.99, Movie Fanobi $1.99. And I gotta say that again, nerderotic ladies are the best, just saying. And I brought up this idea like before Midnight's Edge did it. So, I mean, but I actually thought of this before they did it. It was not, if you want to say I'm copying them, that's fine. I don't care. I like Midnight's Edge. Going to copy something good. But we're thinking about doing a ladies' night here. So we'll see if we can get it together eventually. But we've got enough, that's for sure. And it's open to all the lady patrons, I will say. And we can work something out. So that could be coming in the future. That'll be fun. Yeah. Bad Bunny. Nerderotic ladies make the best lovers. And we're hot, says Mary. Damn straight. There you go. So we're gonna wrap it up there. Our next show will be later tonight. It's gonna be one of those ones that disappears, so catch it while it lasts. And of course, there's the Nerderotic Nooner on Monday. Tuesday we will be back covering it's Wednesday, Castle Rock.
Wednesday, yes.
Wednesday we'll be covering Castle Rock. Then Thursday, the finale of Cloak and Dagger. Then Friday, Ancient Aliens isn't over. I was going off Google, and Google said that the last episode was the last of season 13, but it's not. So next Friday, back with some Ancient Aliens. Yes, Bad Bunny, tonight. We'll be back for I will be back for another live stream tonight.
He says when?
When? 90 minutes from now.